as well. The number remains 0809 444 0981. 0809 4440981. That is the WhatsApp number. You can also find us on YouTube where we are streaming live. You can catch us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My analysts are in this morning too, as I love to say, break it all down and, of course, give analysis and perspective as well to the stories. Joining me are Mr. C and Gbubemi. Good morning to you, Mr. C. Great to have you in.
Good morning, I am. Good morning, Gbubemi. Good morning, Lagos.
Well, good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Lagos.
All right, without further ado, let's get this bus on the road. And we're starting at the bus stop of the Punch newspaper. Mr. C, I'm coming to you with this one. And it has to do with Nigerian gold being smuggled to UAE. Anyways, let me just take a part of that. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Daily Alake, has said that gold mine in the country is being exported illegally to the United Arab Emirates. And he stated that a significant volume of this illegal gold trade undermines the potentials for a partnership aimed at economic growth. Now, I don't want to call Daily Alake Captain Obvious here, but this is something that is not known to everyone or a large portion of people in Nigeria.
Correct, so he's merely finally admitted what some Nigerians have already known, that for years now, gold has been illegally extracted from Nigeria and taken abroad for sale, especially in the UAE. Now, he was saying this against the backdrop of a visit by the UAE ambassador to his office. Now, in the course of that discussion, Mr. Alake did admit openly that gold was being smuggled. Now, one, that is an open indictment on customs, the Nigerian Customs Service. No matter how you spin it, it's an open indictment. Two, you're demarketing the country in the eyes of the international community. Yes, they know this fact, but for you to openly admit it begs the question. When Mr. Ononuga turns around tomorrow and accuses certain Nigerians who question the motives and the actions of this current administration as attempts or deliberate efforts aimed at demarketing the country, you then start to wonder who exactly is doing the demarketing. Now, let's get into the meat of what he discussed. He says, due to the huge volume of illegal trade between Nigeria and UAE, especially with regards to gold, there are now opportunities to legitimize that trade and ensure that proper revenue can come into Nigeria, and that both countries should work together to come up with strategies to stem the tide of illegal smuggling. Now, again, I'm a bit confused. Why do you need the help of a third party to sort out your internal problems? You've come out, you told us gold is being smuggled. Gold is not being smuggled by spirits. It's being smuggled by flesh and bone, flesh and blood. Now, when you come out and say it's being smuggled and then you move on, in the words of the Yoruba people, are you telling us, look back, Paris, it's finished? That's it. Because again, this is another example of the bad markets Nigeria bought last year. The Yorubas have a saying for it, Oja Okuku.
Oja Okuku.
Oja Okuku. Yes, that's goods bought in the dark. When light comes and you then see them, if you don't like what you see, don't complain. Now, you want to come up with methods or strategies to stem illegal smuggling, right? And both countries have agreed to set up a committee. First of all, where are the gold deposits in Nigeria? This is common sense. This is something any decent 5 or 6 year old boy can figure out. Even my nephew can do this. Where is gold? Where can we find gold deposits in Nigeria? First of all. Two, how many gold mining licenses have we issued lawfully and legitimately properly? Who are the people extracting this gold? Because the extraction can never be too far from where you find the gold naturally occurring. Now, where are the airports, the legitimate airports around those deposit sources or deposit locations? Where are the legal airstrips? Because I'll tell you what, for every lawful or legal airport we have, we have at least 30 illegal landing gear strips in Nigeria. Zamfara State is a state that has a huge gold deposit. And the crisis in quote that goes on there is a smokescreen because almost everyone from rogue elements of states to non-state actors, everybody is cashing out from this. Now, why don't we do this like blood diamonds, right? The same way regulate the diamond trade. If you take gold from any country, there must be a certificate of origin. So whoever is attempting to sell the gold must be able to say where it came from and describe the process through which it came. So if the gold doesn't have the certificate of a country, then you then know it is illegal gold and should not be sold. But then again, it also depends on the willingness of the buyer to comply by international legal standards and obligations. But more importantly, let's put our house in order. Illegal gold smuggling is not any different from the oil theft or the crude oil theft going on in our petroleum industry. Every time we're told, oh, this is going on, this is going on, there's very little attempt to identify, let alone apprehend and or prosecute the people behind these thefts. Because at the end of the day, smuggling is theft. You forget the semantics. It's theft. Because that is revenue that should have gone to states. Because gold is not on the exclusive list, it's on the concurrent list. So Zafra will be entitled to the bulk of that revenue. Nevertheless, if we're going to be serious and we're going to project our seriousness to the international community, to the mythical or phantom foreign investors we're continually bombarded with, we need to ensure that we have a process we follow. We have a process that is followed to the letter. Then and only then will they take us serious. Because if we don't take our own law seriously, no one will take us seriously.
That is an interesting perspective there, Mr. C. I mean, looking at where we are now in terms of security architecture, I mean, like like you like you mentioned, just stating what the issue is. I mean, everybody knows what the issue is. Everybody knows what the problem is.
Yep.
But what exactly is being done or going to be done about the situation? Is there a willingness to do that? What is going on in terms of the security architecture? I mean, we hear all the grandstanding. Oh, we have the military hierarchy going to Sokoto to go and do this, to do that. All the should I say all the what's what I'm looking for here? Just being performative at the end of the day. So is it just going to be a case of let's talk about it as opposed to let's do something about it if we're going to bring in these investors, as you say? Now, this actually leads me to our next story here this morning. And I'm coming to you with this one, Gbubemi. Let's talk about it's coming from the Daily Trust. And the federal government has bemoaned non-sharing of classified information and intelligence among law enforcement agencies, saying such developments could hinder efforts to reduce crime. Now, it, however, cautioned all the security agencies against the approach, warning that the country could not afford to continue employing such a strategy with the present insecurity affecting many parts of the country. It looks like we have some technical issues. So let me just bring this right back to your doorstep, Mr. before he comes back in. I mean, you would think that with the incessant issues that we have, the serious issues that we have concerning security in different parts of the country, that there will be a synergy between these different security agencies. But here, the Minister of Police Affairs, Ibrahim Gaidam, has been the one to say this, that there is not enough collaboration. I mean, are they competing? Is it a case of our agency is going to be bigger than yours? Why exactly are they not coming together to make things work? Or is it a case of, well, let's just do what we want to do? We don't have an interest in solving the problems.
Okay, so very quickly before Gbubemi jumps in again. Again, this is another minister finally admitting what we've known for decades. The security agencies don't talk to themselves. There's this usual tough war that goes on between agencies, and it's not limited to Nigeria. It happens in other countries. In the fallout of the September 11 attacks in America, it was revealed that certain agencies had certain information and they shared. Well, Gbubemi is back.
All right, Gbubemi, welcome back. You are muted at the moment.
Okay,
All
can you
right.
hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry about that slight technical hitch. So, well, this isn't really news. I'm sure everybody who knows, or everybody who is in Nigeria knows that very clearly that this is something that has always been up. A lot of times, if you remember, I can't remember which prominent personality was the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, when he was charged to court and there was a tussle over which of the agencies of government would be the ones responsible for him, whether it was the police, whether it was the FCC and all of that. It already shows really that there's no collaboration within all of our agencies. So to be honest, there's no real news here. Everybody knows that already. And sometimes when I think about the security situation in the country, one of the things that occurs to me is clearly these people are not really speaking to themselves. In a situation where at the end of the day, the objective should be that, our security, apparatuses are clearly working, supporting one another, ensuring that the country is safe. It always seems as though the agencies are looking more to trump up themselves and be the ones say, "Oh, I'm the one doing the work, or I'm the one who's achieved this," rather than collaborating to achieve all of these things. You know, one of the things that I would have hoped, or one of the things that I hope rather, is that the National Security Advisor, clearly because the final buck for security for the nation rests at his table, should be at the forefront of making sure that all of the security agencies work together to be able to achieve all of these things. I think one of the things also is sometimes it seems as though some of these agencies may not clearly know what their work is or what their role is. Some of them may appear to be overstepping their bounds. Some of them may appear not to be sitting up and taking responsibilities for the work that is assigned to them. So the role of the National Security Advisor should be, in terms of this, harmonizing all of these agencies, also checking them as well, holding them accountable for all of the work that they're doing. So if you look at internal security issues, for example, traditionally everybody has said that internal security is the police's responsibility, but the police is overwhelmed, sorry, has inadequate staff. So the army has had to step in over the years to fill in this gap. However, there's still a role that the police has to play because the police is supposed to be the one that has the direct connection with the people. So in terms of local intelligence gathering and things like that, we would expect the police to step up and be able to pass on that kind of information to the army. I'm not quite sure this has really happened, or to what extent it has happened. And if it has, I'm not sure it has been a very successful collaboration. So at the end of the day, what I would say is that National Security Advisor, needs to really be on his toes to ensure that he holds all of these agencies accountable, whilst also monitoring them, ensuring that the actual work that they're supposed to be doing is being done.
And that is just the actual truth of the matter, because it's a very worrying state of affairs when we see different areas in the country and the sort of serious security challenges that we have. And this is going to take us into our next story here, because we're heading back into the Daily Trust and heading to Niger State, Mr. C, where local and other key stakeholders in Niger State have said that the vandalized Shiroro Kaduna 330 kV lines 1 and 2, which plunged most parts of northern Nigeria into darkness, have been attacked by bandits or terrorists, as I like to call them. That's a more appropriate name, several times. So it's not like, oh, it was a one-time thing, it was a first-time thing, several times. Now, this is going back to these issues of security that we're talking about, this lack of synergy between the necessary bodies, necessary authorities. This major issue happened that plunged most of northern Nigeria into darkness for well over a week. This is beyond the realm of ridiculousness right now.
Okay, thank you. So the first story we took, I told you that we bought goods in the dark. Light has come, the day has come, and we've now finally seen what we purchased. The other day, former President Olusegun Obasanjo did state quite clearly, he was very clear with his remarks, that this current administration has no plan. And every day we continue to see clear examples of the absence of any plan. Now, in any serious country, irrespective of geographical location. There are
Right.
certain assets that are national assets, national security assets, that you must ensure at every material point in time are properly guarded and looked after. Your transmission towers are one of them. We have a minister for power who surprisingly was retained in office. Now, let me do a brief segue. Before the last cabinet reshuffle, we had 45 or 47, 45 ministers. Clearly, the general consensus was the bulk of that cabinet wasn't pulling its weight. But after the reshuffle, or the described reshuffle, 30 of them retained their slots, 10 were moved to new slots, and only 5 were sacked. And this is why we're here. This is another example of why we're here. How is it that under the Ministry of Power, there is no existing security arrangement between them, the Nigerian Army, the NSA's office, whoever, to ensure that these critical assets are properly protected? Now, we've repeatedly spoken on this show about the value and the importance of gathering intelligence.
Right.
Even the local villagers know that the location of these transmission towers are along terrorist routes. If the villagers know this, how is it that our security agencies do not know this? And let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They know it. What have they done with that information? Are we applying information technology? Are we applying tech in protecting our assets? Are we using drones? The other day, the NG of Nigeria Comsat was saying we now use as one of our satellites for security overwatch in the country. Fantastic. So if that is the case, what is the plan for protecting the transmission towers? Because again, this is the same nonsense that goes on in the petroleum industry. Pipelines are vandalized, supposedly. Again, who's watching over them? So this recent attack has shown how vulnerable our transmission system is with regards to attacks from terrorists. And this is a national security problem. You can't have 10 to 12 states or even 14 states without power for more than 2 weeks. That is simply unacceptable. And the fact that nobody has been fired, or nobody has been called to explain or justify why a suspension or a dismissal should not be effected, begs the question about what exactly are we doing? Where exactly are we headed? Because what are the plans to ensure this does not repeat itself?
That's what I was about to ask you. I mean, now that this has happened, it was a major incident. What's the guarantee that it's not going to happen again here? What's the guarantee that it's not going to happen at other major transmission lines?
Again, how do these terrorists have so much leeway within the country? Because anytime a peaceful protest is called, the way they roll out the security agencies and the equipment, I'm like, oh wow, we have all these things, we have these number of bodies on the ground. But when it's time to secure critical national assets, they're nowhere to be found. The TCN couldn't even start the repairs on time because they needed security to go into those areas. Now, is there any desire to flush these guys out of the game?
That's the burning question.
If there's a desire, we're not seeing it. If there's a plan, we're not seeing the execution of any plan. All we hear each day is rhetoric, 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 propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. You cannot govern by rhetoric and propaganda. A time must come when we say enough is enough. And that, look, you were put there by us supposedly to govern. You have to pull your weight. You have to start doing the work. And if the security agencies are repeatedly not pulling their weight, it then begs the question, maybe you need to look into the leadership. Maybe new hands will bring new results. But something has to give. We cannot continue to do the same things and expect different results.
Let me take a couple of messages. Michael says, define cooperation between the security agencies. I don't think it can happen. For instance, if the police were to arrest Yaya Bello and take him to the FCC, will they accept their help? Or tell us there is a process, or tell the police to release the man? Questions, questions. Peter says, finally, Dele Alake has confirmed the gold theft in Zamfara. He demarcated Nigeria before the country that has been buying our gold. There is a video online with a jet taking off, I guess you mean, in a forest runway. On concerning security police in brackets, if the number of policemen guiding big men, guiding politicians, guarding, I guess is what you mean, guarding politicians who have become demigods and are used to intimidate masses just as dishonorable, just as disor Peter, kindly help me to, work your message to make it easier for me to read. Thank you very much. Ajay Oloniluwa says, Dele Alaki's lamentation is another proof of the sloppy way this administration is handling the affairs of the country. Ministers are appointed to find solutions to issues affecting their sectors and not to raise up their hands in frustration in front of visitors they are courting to invest in the economy. Tonye says, what is the point of stating that gold is being smuggled illegally from Nigeria to the UAE? If he hasn't investigated, arrested, and prosecuted a single human being, then he should plug his pipe hole. That's a very, let's say, subtle way of saying that stop talking, more or less. All right, let's get back into the stories. I'm coming back to you right now. We're still in the realm of security-related matters. And coming out of the punch, President Bola Tinubu has appointed Major General Olufemi Oluyede as the acting chief of Army Staff. Now, he said that he will act in the position pending the return of the indisposed substantive chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. This was stated by Bayo Ononuga, President Tinubu's special advisor on information and strategy. Now, this drama over the chief of army staff's whereabouts has gone on for a little bit. He's on leave, he's here, he's there, and now it's been said, okay, he's indisposed to start with. So at least that has been said. They come out to say that he's indisposed and that we're going to have an acting chief of army staff. I mean, first of all, why did we have all the, should I say, Maradona antics, dribbling left and right? He's on leave, he's not on leave. Like, Party A said this, Party B said that. But I guess now there's really nowhere to hide again. So there had to be, should I say, a story that makes sense to everyone. But I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so typically, as with many things in Nigeria, we like to, I'm not sure whether the word is manage information or hide information. Hide information is what I want to say.
So
Now,
not we, they.
Okay, so apparatuses of government like to hide information. And sometimes I wonder whether it's because they don't have the information or whether they just think it's on a needs to know base or, whatever. Things like this anyway, the truth will always out, So for those who had been observing, they realized that he wasn't, the Major General Lagbaja hadn't been in the public eye since sometime in September. A lot of all the army activities that he was supposed to have attended, he didn't attend. There was the combined graduation of the, I think, course 78 or so. He wasn't there. Independence Day parade on October 1st, he wasn't there, and then apparently it said that, people started talking until the news broke a few weeks ago. And some had said, oh, he was ill. Some went as far as to say that, oh, he had passed on and all of that. So it's nice now that there's quote unquote an official position. We hope that that is the actual position. It's also very critical that we have someone, handling that role, chief of army staff. Nigeria is in a Nigeria has been in a security dilemma for a very long time, and it's very critical that we have someone who is holding the reins of that position. We don't know how long General Lagbaja will be away for. We don't know exactly what the issue is. We hope that there will also be an official pronouncement on that so that we can manage our expectations as a people. Will the acting chief of army staff eventually become the substantive chief of army staff? We don't know. But we'll keep watching anyway. And like I said, it's very important that, there are no gaps in this position, especially not just within our security position, but also within the army for the sake of hierarchy, reporting lines, and ensuring that things that are supposed to go on. So we keep watching anyway.
Okay, so let me quickly jump in with this, right? When you say an individual is indisposed, right? You're probably saying he's recovering from a flu, he's recovering from a cold, he's probably recovering from a stomachache or something. You don't appoint an acting head for someone who's indisposed. You appoint an acting head for someone who's not coming back anytime soon. So think about it. You work for Mobile, you're indisposed, you're indisposed. They don't go and hire someone to fill your position because you're indisposed. So again, we're not getting correct information, we're not getting complete information, and yet again, the government isn't being transparent. Now, why is a man who is indisposed outside the country?
For treatment.
If he's indisposed, he doesn't need to travel outside the country because it's not that serious. Speak to any medical doctor. But again, this is a nation of anyhowness.
Anyhowness. Okay, Mr. C, I'm going back to you with our final story this morning. We need to run through this one. And it's an interesting one because I had alluded to this yesterday, but we didn't go deep into the matter. Now, it's concerning that report that was done by civic tech organization Budget that says that only Lagos and Rivers State can take care of their operating costs without relying on revenue from the Federation Account Allocation Committee. Only Lagos and Rivers, that's two states out of 36. So in the country. And just before you jump in here, where we've heard news recently about the clamor for new states to be created. I know that in Oyo State, I think it's past second reading to create a new state, Ibadan State, and all that. Oyo State isn't one of those two that I mentioned, and they're clamoring to, break the state and create another one from it. What is the sense?
Okay, thank you, Ayo. So Budget, again, has only confirmed what we already know. A lot of the states cannot function without back allocations, which is really sad. And it highlights the nonsense the governors have been doing for a very long time. Because the governors are supposed to really drive the development of this nation. There's only so much. The center is supposed to give direction. Of course, they're not doing that. But the governors too haven't pulled their weight at all. Now we're seeing Rivers and Lagos states are the only two states that can function completely without back allocations. Then we then have a group of states, Ogun, Anambra, Cross River, Kwara, Kaduna, and Edo states, which can survive, or Nigeria, which will cover at least 50% of the operating costs. So a number of things jump out. Why are your operating costs so high if you're not generating sufficient IGR? So, for example, in the budget report, and I recommend everyone goes out to look for it, I'll put it on my Twitter handle or my X handle. There are a number of states where the budget for the governor's office exceeds that of the state's IGR. So, for example, Imo State, where I'm supposed to be from,
supposed to own it with your chest, Mr. Own it.
No. So, for now, no. So, the governor there, his budget for last year, I think it's last year or this year, either 23 or 24, is 204% larger than the state's IGR. Let it make sense. And then we have in the House of Reps, like you said, second reading, third reading of bills to create new states. How unfortunate can some people be? The existing states can't survive. They're struggling to pay 70K, 80K, 85K, which, of course, in today's Nigeria doesn't go anywhere. You really can't do anything with that amount of money. And then you then want to create more states. Why? Because political jobbers and opportunists are looking for new avenues to benefit from the nation's coffers. So you create a new state, right? So you now have 3 additional senators to look after. You have a new House of Assembly to look after. You then have a governor, deputy governor, state cabinets. You then have at least 10 or 15 members of the House of Reps. What is going on here? There's no attempt to address the issues on the ground now. Many of the states, seeing that they cannot function without the fact allocations, what's their plan to move forward? We see governors coming out to say, I can't pay minimum wage. I'm sorry, what sort of irresponsibility is that? Who forced you to come out for the election? You came out voluntarily. Don't waste everyone's time. Don't annoy our sensibilities. Roll your sleeves up and do the work. If you can't do the work, please can you resign and leave office?
Okay, Mr. Say, we really need to wrap up. But before we do, let's play a hypothetical game here, and let's imagine that fat allocations are taken off the table completely. What happens to these states that can't function without them?
It is finished.
Hypothetically,
The end.
It is finished.
The end.
Go back, Mary.
So what then happens to the citizens of all these states?
You look up to them.
That is where we are in Nigeria right now. Let me take a few messages and we will round up the conversation on Freshly Pressed. Tinu says, all the headlines this morning just make me shake my head at this nation, from the presidency to the ministers to the government institutions. It's really sad that day in, day out, we have that we have analysts coming to dissect these silly stories. Where there are so many progressive things that we should be discussing ideally in 2024. Una they try. I mean, we can only talk about what it is that is put before us. That is just the truth at the end of the day. So kudos to Mr. C, Gbubemi, and all the analysts who need to sit down every day, take a look at these stories. One of the easiest things to do. AD says, well, with the UAE officials, it would have been helpful to ask about the terrorist names that were submitted over 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe they are the ones smuggling gold out of Nigeria. He further says, a testament to just how unimaginative the various governors of all those states are. It underscores the fact that all of Nigeria is resting on the backs of the oil from the Niger Delta. And finally, Dimapuza says, we'll continue to notice the cluelessness of this government forever, yet they are gunning for 2027. Will Nigerians probably vote for them? I doubt. Unless, of course, the normal government magic is applied. Government magic. Was that a famous song?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic. All right, we need to call it the morning. Thank you so much, Mr. C, and for joining me on Freshly Pressed. Always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having me, and let's roll our sleeves up. Let's do our work, and let's look forward to the weekend ahead.
Yes, look forward to the weekend ahead already on my mind. Thank you once again. Thank you all for sending your messages in. Keep it tuned to the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. We'll take a walk into the grapevine, all about entertainment and all the good stuff.